The quadratic formula, unveiling the elegance of algebraic solutions. The quadratic formula is like the superhero of algebra, swooping in to save the day when we're dealing with quadratic equations. You know, those second-degree polynomial equations where you have x squared, x, and a constant term hanging out together. It usually looks something like x circumflex 2 plus bx plus c equals sign 0, where a, b, and c are just numbers, with a not being 0. So the quadratic formula is this nifty tool that helps us find the solutions for x in these equations. And trust me, it's not just a bunch of letters and symbols. It's the key to unlocking solutions for a whole bunch of real-life problems. Let's take a closer look at what makes this formula tick. The quadratic formula, breaking it down. The big reveal, the quadratic formula itself, looks like this. X equals sign, b plus, b squared, 4ac, slash 2a now. Don't let the symbols scare you off. X is what we're trying to figure out, and a, b, and c are just the coefficients hanging out in our original quadratic equation. The plus symbol means we usually get two solutions, one for each possible square root. And that bit inside the square root, b circumflex 24ac, is the discriminant. It's like the quadratic formula's way of telling us what kind of solutions we're dealing with. To really get what's going on, let's rewind a bit and talk about how we even get to this formula. We start with our plain old quadratic equation, do some algebraic magic to complete the square, and end up with the quadratic formula as our hero. Daily life applications, where the quadratic formula saves the day now. Here's where it gets interesting. This formula isn't just a classroom exercise, it's out there in the world, tackling real-life challenges. Check out these scenarios. 1. Physics and projectile motion. Think about launching a projectile, a ball, a rocket, you name it. The quadratic formula helps scientists and engineers figure out how high it goes, how far it travels, and how long it's in the air. Imagine trying to hit a target without knowing these details. Not so accurate, right? 2. Engineering and circuit analysis. When you're diving into electrical circuits, the quadratic formula pops up to help engineers analyze the behavior of components like resistors and capacitors. It's like the Sherlock Holmes of circuits, solving mysteries about stability and performance. 3. Finance and investment. Ever wondered how businesses figure out the best way to invest and maximize profits? Yep, you guessed it, quadratic equations and the quadratic formula. It's like a financial GPS guiding companies through the twists and turns of economic decisions. 4. Architecture and structural engineering. Building that next skyscraper? The quadratic formula steps in to analyze the loads, stresses, and deflections, making sure your masterpiece stands tall and strong. No wobbly structures on its watch. 5. Computer graphics and gaming. Your favorite video game characters moving realistically? Thank the quadratic formula. It's used to model curves and surfaces, making sure the virtual world behaves just like the real one. 6. Biology and population dynamics. Biologists and ecologists use the quadratic formula to predict how populations of animals or plants will grow or decline. It's like peeking into the future of ecosystems, helping us understand the delicate balance of life. 7. Optics and lenses. Ever wonder how camera lenses are designed for that perfect shot? Quadratic equations play a role, and the quadratic formula helps engineers figure out the focal length of lenses and mirrors, ensuring crystal clear images. 8. Economics and revenue maximization. Businesses dive into quadratic equations to analyze revenue, cost, and profit functions. The quadratic formula steps in to find those critical points, guiding companies on how to set prices and allocate resources. 9. Automotive design and kinematics. Engineers in the automotive world use the quadratic formula to analyze how vehicles move, from acceleration to braking to suspension dynamics. It's like the quadratic formula is fine-tuning the dance of cars on the road. 10. Environmental science and pollution dispersion. Worried about pollution? Environmental scientists use quadratic equations and the quadratic formula to model how pollutants spread in the air and water. It's like having a mathematical superhero fighting for cleaner environments. Conclusion: celebrating the quadratic formula's superpowers. So there you have it, the quadratic formula, not just a bunch of mathematical symbols, but a superhero in our daily lives. From helping us shoot projectiles accurately to optimizing financial decisions, it's the go-to tool for tackling a wide range of challenges. Behind the simplicity of its derivation and the complexity of its applications, the quadratic formula stands tall as a symbol of how mathematical ingenuity shapes and improves the world around us.